I didn't see you arrive. How are we doing today on this fine afternoon? I like to start my stories off with a little cabo wabo. Remember, kids, don't drink and drive. Tequila! Bow, 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 bow. Bow, 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 bow. Enough of that nonsense. I'm so glad you could join me on The Adventures of Park Ranger Wild Lauren. Today I'd like to start my episode to a tribute to a young boy in Omaha, Utah, Nebraska. Vincent Dominic, this wild adventure is for you, big boy. About a week ago, 5 hours and 3 minutes, I was up in the Appalachian Mountains, approximately 25,000 feet up in altitude. I've been higher. I was getting ready to go on one of my wild hunting trips. There was this native village that had been complaining about a beast, a wild beast, in the forest nearby by the river. I stayed with this village, these native people, and the strange thing about them is they brushed their teeth with pig hairs. That's right, I said pig hairs. Anyways, after leaving the village, approximately 5 o'clock in the morning, set off for my wild adventure. I was traveling across the river when I heard the most god-awful noise in the wild. It scared me. This noise. Sorry, it scares me so much I have to check to see if I wet myself. Where was I? I looked down to see if I had wet myself by this terrifying noise I heard. I had to pause for a second, contain my composure. I was going to hunt this wild beast. As I was walking, I saw the dead carcass of a zebra. And as I learned from my good friend Bear, you might have heard of him on Man vs. Wild, you don't just let a carcass lay there. I knew it would be hours until I got back to the native village for lunch, so I had to satisfy my thirst now. I sprung on that zebra! Once I was fully satisfied with my delicious lunch, I decided to start. I took my bow and arrow and began the hunt. And I heard the noise again. And that's when I saw it. I looked straight ahead, and the beast that the villagers were complaining about was the biggest bear I have ever seen in my life. I ripped my hat off, grabbed my bow and arrow and stood in the hunter's position. And the bear came towards me. And we were standing face to face, looking at each other. I raised my bow and arrow. And the bear looked right in my eyes. Oh, his eyes were fierce. They were so fierce. I held my position. But all of a sudden, the adrenaline in my body erased. I could feel the bear. I could feel the peace and the passion in the soul. I dropped my arrow, fell to the floor, and I looked at the bear in its eyes. I was no longer his prey, and he was no longer my prey either. We were friends. Friends. Humankind and animal nature coming together as one. We were friends, no longer prey. I stood up, and the bear strutted away. I stepped back. And that's what my lesson is today, kids. I want to teach you that when you hunt, you need to know the difference between your prey and the beautiful creatures of nature that are to be undisturbed. We can all come together, remember, and be friends. Friends. I'd like to do a shout out to Vincent Dominic. Happy birthday, big boy. I wish I could be there with you. And I'd also like to thank my cameraman and producer, Sean Daniel. Stay tuned for next week, kids. Previews to next week's show, where I wrestle an alligator in the swamps of Africa. A tribute to my good friend Steve Irwin. Thanks, kids. Be safe. And good will hunting.